Actions express priorities. It's a famous adage from Mahatma Gandhi. And it's an incredibly subtle little adage. In those three words, a lot of very complex ideas are expressed. And it's something that you should think about. Let me explain. We spend most of our time telling others and ourselves what we want, right? We say, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, whatsoever it may be. Trivial, mundane, or grandiose and life-consuming. It doesn't matter the level of the aim or the goal. We keep telling one another what our goals are. But ultimately, it's just talk. How you spend your time, what are the things that you actually do? Those are the things that are really speaking volumes as to what is important to you. What are your goals? What are you trying to achieve? You guys know that I have a background as a writer, right? That's where I came from originally. I was a novelist and wrote for Hollywood and stuff. And you have no idea how many people I met along the way that when they would hear this, they would say stuff like, oh yeah, I always wanted to be a writer, or I'm trying to be a writer and I'm writing and all the rest of it. And then, I'd ask them, well, what are you going to do this weekend? I mean, I know you have a 9-to-5 job to pay the bills, so this weekend, are you going to be writing? Oh no, I'm going to go ride around my motorcycle with my buddies. Yeah, if you really wanted to be a writer, you'd be writing your ass off. I mean, the fact of the matter is, when I was trying to make it in Los Angeles right out of college, right, I had this temp job over at Disney, at the Disney contracts department. My job was so mundane. I had to file these contracts in this enormous room that was filled with file cabinets, and they were television syndication contracts, and I'd spent my days filing them away. I'd get like a stack like this high, right? And I'd go into this enormous room full of these cream-colored file cabinets that were enormous, right? And I just filed them by date or country. I forget what it was. It doesn't matter. It was just the most mundane and boring job imaginable. I did that fucking shit 8 hours a day, for crying out loud, right? But as soon as I was done, I'd drive back from Burbank back to my apartment. It was on South Bentley Avenue, near Pico Boulevard, right? And the drive was like 45 minutes, I recall. And during that time, that 45 minutes, I'd be thinking about what I was going to write when I got home. And then when I got home into my crappy little apartment, I'd start writing. And I'd write 2, 3, 4 hours, as many as I could squeeze in before sleep overcame me. My actions expressed my priorities. Yeah, I wanted to be a writer. And I was working goddamn hard to be a writer. And of course I had to spend 8 hours every day paying the bills. I mean, working at this job at Disney Corporation to earn enough to, pay for gas and pay for my apartment and for food. Yeah, of course I had to do that. But every other waking hour that I had was spent writing or trying to get ahead as a writer, because that was my priority. And my actions expressed it. Do something very simple. Take a sheet of paper and fold it in half. On the left hand, write down the things that you are aiming to achieve in your life. Whatever the goals are, big, small, personal, career, whatever. Write down what are your goals in whatever it is that you're doing. And on the left-hand side of the piece of paper, write down how you spend your time each day. How many hours doing X, Y, Z. Because I mean, of course, we all need to earn a living to pay the bills, pay the rent, pay for food, pay for gas to get to the job. Yeah, of course, and I understand that. But all the other hours in the day, all the other hours left over during the weekend, say, what are you doing? Is the time that you are spending, is it working towards the goal you have on the left-hand side of the sheet of paper? You have a goal of climbing Mount Everest or whatever, right? Are you spending time practicing, like rappelling or whatever the hell mountain climbers do to practice to climb Mount Everest? Are you doing that? You want to be a writer? You want to be a mechanic? You want to be whatever it is. Are you spending your free time, your available time, trying to be that thing, working towards that goal? Hand to heart? If you're spending your time jerking off or playing video games or hanging out with your friends, then whatever it is that is your goal, Let's just talk. Actions express priorities. How you spend your time expresses your priorities. Huh? You're trying to make it as a, I don't know, you want to be a rock musician, right? And you spend all the weekend hours, practicing on your guitar to get better at it. Okay, then I'll believe you. Okay, I'll believe you when you say that you want to be a rock star. You say that you want to be a painter and you're spending all your time working on some crappy job to get the materials for your art, and you are spending all of your free hours working at that art. Again, I'll believe you. But you say you want to be a writer and you're playing video games with your friends. You say that you want to be a rock drummer, the next Neil Peart, and all you're doing is, watching Netflix and crap. I'm not going to believe you. Huh? Yeah. You see? You see how cutting the notion that actions express priorities really is? And by the way, this isn't just looking at yourself. Use this tool, this adage, to look at other people as well. How other people are spending their time, what other people are doing, that expresses their priorities, right? They could claim that they want to do this, that, the other. They're fighting racism or whatever the hell, right? But if they are spending their time in a certain direction that is not their objective is over there, but they keep doing things and spending all their time going in that direction, well, then that direction over there that they keep claiming to be, that very idealistic goal, whatever it may be, that's so much BS. Their real goal is that, right? They might be a politician claiming to be fighting racism, but if all they do is spend their time talking to lobbyists, then what are they? Well, they're just a corrupt politician. That's what they are. And they're talking about fighting racism and sexism and elitism and blah, blah, blah as just a way to cover up the fact that they're corrupt. Yeah, actions express priorities. I mentioned politicians, but you can look at anybody through this lens. What they are doing, how they are spending their time, that's who they really are. Whatever it is that they say that they are, it's probably a lie if the way that they spend their time is vastly different from their purported objectives. Always pay attention to what people do, what they are working towards, what they spend their waking hours doing. That's the true measure of not only how serious somebody is, but also if they're lying to you. Lying to you and lying to themselves, actually. Because, see, a lot of times we have this notion that we are better than who we actually are. We pretend that we are aiming for some great goal, and we keep repeating it over and over, but we don't actually do it. And it's just a way to comfort ourselves, right? To comfort ourselves because we're afraid of actually going for that goal, whatsoever that goal may be, or we are uncertain as to the outcome, or maybe we're just fucking lazy. It's as simple as that sometimes. People use the excuse of talk to hide the fact of what they're really doing. And they talk and talk and talk, and it's really not just to fool other people, but to fool themselves. And this is why you have to guard against it. Looking at others and looking at yourself through the lens of actions expressing priorities is a very difficult thing sometimes, because you'll find sometimes that the people that you respected are just full of it. And a lot of times you'll find that you yourself are full of it, that you've been lying to yourself. And you're continuing to lie to yourself. And only when you look at your actions through this lens, actions express priorities, that's sometimes the only way you will discover that you've been fooling yourself. Because at the end of the day, we are past masters at fooling ourselves because nobody knows ourselves better than we do. And so a lot of times you will find that you fool yourself. You fool yourself into thinking that you're doing one thing when you're really doing something completely different. And I am not innocent of this, by the way. No, I'm not. Recently, something happened that I was spending a lot of time doing one thing, right? When I should have been doing other things, work stuff, the YouTube channel, what have you. I was doing other things, and I thought that it was just a little hobby, a little pastime. It was no big deal, right? I'm not going to get into the specifics because it's none of your business. But all of a sudden, I came up short because I started counting up the hours that I had. Because I had to figure out something that was going to be, take up a lot of time, but a fixed number of hours, right? And I thought to myself, well, what am I spending my time on? And so, like, all of a sudden I thought to myself, man, I'm like spending time, but not really managing my time, or more properly said, I'm not taking an accounting of the time that I've been spending as of late. And I started to do that. And all of a sudden I realized I was spending like something like 5 hours on something that I thought was just a little hobby, a little pastime. And it wasn't. I was spending a disproportionate amount of time daily, 4, 5, 6, sometimes 7 hours, on something that I realized was indicative of where my real priorities lay. Actions express priorities. I was spending all this time and attention and thought on something that wasn't a casual little hobby. On the contrary, it was something very important to me. And once I realized this, I was able to understand why this was the case. I'm sorry that I'm leaving it so vague, but it's just a personal thing and I don't want to get into it. But even now at 51, I can fool myself very easily. I can very easily fool myself into thinking that something is that really isn't, or isn't when it really is. And I thought that I was just spending so much time on this little hobby, on this little pastime, on this little distraction. It was no big deal, And all of a sudden I realized I was acting a little bit like a junkie, like a drug addict. Yeah, I was fooling myself. And that's the terrible thing. We can fool ourselves so easily. And that's why you should analyze your time, analyze the things that you are doing through this lens of actions expressing priorities. Every so often, I don't know, every 4 months, 6 months, whenever, stop and take an accounting of the time you've spent on the different things in your life. And tally them up. X amount of time doing work, X amount of time pursuing my business or the thing that I really want to do, X amount of time, hanging out with friends, X amount of time with a girlfriend, do a little accounting of everything. And add up how much time you spend doing each of these things. Now, apart from the job that you need in order to, keep a roof over your head and keep yourself fed, right? Assuming, of course, that you're at some crappy job that you really don't want, right? Well, apart from that, look at the free time that you have and how you're spending it. And that will tell you what is important to you. And you might have dreams, you might have ambitions, but if in that cold, hard accounting, you are not spending the time pursuing that goal, that dream, that ambition, then it's bullshit. Really. Yeah. You can't allow yourself to be blinded by your own bullshit. It's all good and fine to spout off bullshit to other people so that they don't notice what you're doing. That's all good and fine, and I don't have a problem with that. But don't bullshit yourself. Actions express priorities. Take a good, long, hard look at what you are doing. What you are doing, and compare that to what you say that you want to do. If there's no mismatch, if they are one and the same, you're aces. But if they're not, then ask yourself why.